More kids than on-duty cops killed by guns. More kids than soldiers killed by guns. For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough, enough?
And President Biden striking, as you could hear, a very emotional tone as the country is still reeling from the horrific mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, that claimed the lives of 21 people, including 19 school children, as investigators attempt to determine exactly how events unfolded. Politicians are calling for new measures to make sure that this never happens again. And joining us now to discuss is Second Amendment advocate and editor of Bearing Arms, Cam Edwards, and also there, former NYPD Commissioner Bernie Kerik. It's great to have both of you guys. I want to start with you, Bernie. First off, before we get into the Biden issues, some details just came out on the Texas shooting. And basically, the commander on the ground there didn't have a radio, according to reports, wasn't even getting information on the 911 calls. This was the guy who was sort of the local Uvalde school security chief. What do you make of this? And now, apparently, according to reports, he's not cooperating either with the Texas DPS.
Well, I think a couple things, Rita. On the cooperation, I said this from day one. You're not going to hear from the chief. He's a part of this investigation. He's probably being targeted by Texas, the state authorities, and could be the FBI. So it's in his interest, I'm sure, that his attorneys told him, keep your mouth closed, keep quiet until this investigation pans out, and they'll get through it in court, because anything he says could be used or held against him. That's number one. Number two, by all accounts, I mean, this was incompetence, 1,000%. The chief, the incident commander, whatever you want to call him, he doesn't have communications with Central Dispatch. Those kids were calling in every 5 to 10 minutes from the classroom. There was intelligence they could have had. There were 19 guys in that hallway, 19 cops in that hallway with the incident commander. You mean to tell me nobody had nobody had communications with the incident commander? Nobody in the hallway? The whole thing stinks. And it's got to be investigated. People have to be held accountable. You know me, there's no bigger supporter of law enforcement in this country than me. But this is a circumstance where people died as a result of inaction, and people have to be held accountable.
Yeah, no question. I agree with you, Bernie. I love the law enforcement too, but there are so many questions and so many mixed messages we're getting. I agree. We need to make sure so this doesn't ever happen again. Cam, I want to also go to President Biden and the way he has handled this and sort of the politics of gun control. He listed a few of the actions that he and Congress are pursuing. I want you to take a listen.
And the House is planning even more action next week. Safe storage requirements, the banning of high-capacity magazines, raising the age to buy an assault weapon to 21, federal red flag law, codifying my ban on ghost guns that don't have serial numbers and can't be traced, and tougher laws to prevent gun trafficking and straw purchases. This time, we have to take the time to do something, and this time, it's time for the Senate to do something. But as we know, in order to get anything done in the Senate, we need a minimum of 10 Republican senators.
So, Cam, do you see any of these measures being passed, and how much of this is politics?
Well, unfortunately, I think it's all politics because, what we're hearing talked about both in the Congress, in both chambers of Congress, frankly, are things that would either be ineffective at preventing these types of attacks or be unconstitutional to implement. But I want to focus in on something in particular that Joe Biden said. He talked about we're going to, toughen up our prosecution of straw purchases. He's been talking about this for over a year. And I want to ask the Biden administration why I'm still seeing stories about individuals who are getting probation for giving guns to gang members. We had a case in Richmond, Virginia, just within the last couple of weeks, where a 22-year-old was eligible for a 10-year federal prison sentence, was allowed to take a guilty plea. And apparently prosecutors went along with this sentence of 2 years probation because they said that he succumbed to peer pressure, that he knew right from wrong, but that he apparently wanted to, endear himself to the gang members who were asking him to buy guns. If this is what's happening within the Biden administration right now, if this is their idea of getting tough on criminals, we need to have a serious conversation. But these gun control policies that Biden is laying out, again, Rita, they are all aimed at restricting the rights of legal law-abiding gun owners. And the states like California have these laws already on the books. California has a ban on sales of so-called assault weapons for those under the age of 21. They have a magazine ban. They have waiting periods, things that Biden haven't even called for. And yet, according to the FBI's active shooter report for 2021, the state in the country with the most active shooter incidents was California. So I think we really need to quit pretending that we can ban our way to safety, that if we just obliterate second, it'll all be okay. Focus on mental health. We need to focus on law enforcement. We need to focus on our crumbling criminal justice system rather than slapping an anti-gun Band-Aid on the problem and calling it solved.
Yeah, and one of the other things, too, he also talked about, Cam, as you know, too, is also going after the gun makers. That's like going after the car, the Ford, if you get in an accident. I mean, it is really unbelievable. At the same time, he's saying he doesn't want to harden schools. So there is a lot of politics. Both of you guys, thank you so much. I love having both of you guys on the show and appreciate your insight so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Rita.
Thank you both.
Thank you.